Hello again, it's Monday, May 30th, and let's talk about languages. Okay, a bit of backstory first. This weekend I was up in New Hampshire visiting my sister, and I got new glasses, about which I meant to ask you guys, what do you guys think? Ignore the flashing colors for a moment. Anyways, there was about an hour to kill before the glasses were ready, so we went over to Barnes & Noble, and I got a few books, including this one, which I'm realizing doesn't have a cover on it. It's Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. I had already read a lot of the book 2 years ago in my English class, but I hadn't read the whole thing, I realized, plus it seemed like a good book to own, so I picked it up. If you're not familiar with Sedaris' work, one, you really should be, but two, I should tell you that his books are more or less a collection of essays about parts of his life. Now, usually they're not terribly connected to one another, but they do paint a good picture about the guy's life. Granted, all that's not terribly relevant, but it seemed worth talking about because there were two chapters in this book that kind of brought this whole thing on. Namely, Sedaris talks about his years in France and learning French. Basically, he's stuck with the French teacher from hell, and while that is an unfortunate situation, he does learn the language. If you don't mind me reading a bit, he quotes his teacher here saying that every day spent with you is like having a cesarean section. He then remarks, "And it struck me that, for the first time since arriving in France, I could understand every word that someone was saying." Now, not only am I actually kind of jealous that the moment that he realized he understood French was so memorable, but I'm also kind of jealous that he has that moment at all. As of late, I've been wishing more and more that I could speak another language, that language obviously being German, and it kind of saddens me how implausible that seems. And as much as I don't want to blame my teachers, especially not my high school teacher, because she's a most wonderful lady and she's taught me very well German on paper. That kind of is the problem though, because as much practice as I've had with the language on paper, I have had bagel when it comes to speaking experience. And it just kind of saddens me because apparently I'm way past that age where you can actually grasp a language. And that brings me to my main rant thing, spiel of sorts. Not funny, but at least I have a thing. I really don't think that they do well enough to teach little kids languages. I mean, sure, there are those FLES classes, but really what good do they do? I really think that the amount of Spanish that I learned throughout elementary school is just laughable, and I think it's because they're going about it all wrong. First of all, I don't think they're devoting nearly enough time to teaching these languages. I mean, as much as I love math, I can't help but feel that all that time spent being told by my first grade math teacher that negative numbers don't exist could have been better spent learning how to exchange pleasantries or something. But even forgetting that for a moment, I don't feel that elementary school Spanish classes do well enough to immerse the kids in the language. And really, I've been told this so many times, and I've really come to know it as truth that that's the only way to learn a language. But unless my memory is really failing me here, and I suppose that's entirely possible, you should let me know if that's the case, we didn't practice speaking the language so much as learning vocabulary, which is somewhat helpful, but not really. I mean, I know a laundry list of German verbs and nouns, but I still feel pretty lost with the language. And I know what I'm saying here sounds more or less like forcing the kids to speak a language, and that's kind of the third problem that I wanted to talk about. I really don't know what a solution to this one would be, but they could definitely do a better job of making the kids want to learn the languages. If there were some sort of way to let my second grade self know how much I would regret not knowing a second language, I'm pretty sure I could do better at learning languages. It's just a matter of letting the kids know why they need to learn the stuff they're learning. And I think this is a problem for all classes. I mean, when's the last time you've been in a math class where someone hasn't asked, when will I use this? Don't answer that. Really what I mean to say with all this is that I feel that in all areas of education, the number one priority should be making the information seem relevant to the kids. And I've seen so many commercials claiming that they make kids want to learn. I've just yet to see anyone follow through with that. As a point of closing, do any of you have any suggestions for how to learn to speak a language other than going to Germany? Because that's not very plausible. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.